Hi, Mike Kennedy with you. Uh, Recently, the subject of Asperger's and autism have come to the forefront again, at least on social media. Why? And of course, it's because of Elon Musk. Elon Musk has Asperger's syndrome. And I read a book years ago when I was working with autistic and or Asperger adults and children. That wasn't all that I worked with, but I got to experience kind of firsthand. And at the time, I was reading this book, and it was talking about back then, the misclassification that was beginning to start. So at one time, autism was completely separate from Asperger's. Your classic autism generally referred to someone that was in their own world. I don't know if you've seen videos of, they spin around. They just seem completely somewhere else, right? And that was like 1 in 10,000 for the autism. And over in the Asperger's, you had people with much different symptoms. So an autistic person tends to relate to people like objects. If you take scans of their brain and show them a picture of a person, it flashes the same part of the brain as if they're looking at a car. Now, in a person who isn't autistic or Asperger's, you show them a picture of a face, a different area in the brain lights up than when they look at, say, a car. So there's an inability to deal effectively with people, and it has a big range towards people that are, basically completely non-functional, to people that are highly functional, but they still have that characteristic. Temple Grandin, who's an author, and I think she even teaches part-time at a college, has become famous for her work with animals, with cattle, and she has autism, and her contention, which I would believe would be true, that it's easier for autistic people to understand animals than it is for them to understand people. And that's why she came up with certain developments for the cattle industry that make a significant difference. I'll just mention one of them. You bring your cattle to a slaughterhouse and they go down the chute and then they're killed, but they're in a great deal of stress doing this. And we now know that meat that has had a flush of adrenaline in it and then is killed doesn't taste as well. So what she developed was just a simple U-turn. In other words, the cattle would go out and then they'd turn around, so they thought they were going back to the truck, and then they're slaughtered. And it made quite a big difference. And she has some other things like that. But you can read books by her. So she's very high functioning autistic. Asperger's is more a situation where people kind of don't know how to relate to people properly in some ways. In other words, an Asperger person, especially a youth, might go up to someone that's, overweight and say, ma'am, you're really fat. or how much do you weigh? Or something very, very inappropriate, that you a kid without Asperger's would say to someone. Someone else would see that person as being overweight and would say, boy, they're really overweight, but they wouldn't voice it. So, but the book proposed that grouping the two people together was a big mistake, because for children that they're helping them to integrate into the world around them, the two groups need different type of training, let's say. But two, autism has a huge lobby. So again, more people go over to that side, more classifications of Asperger people go. And eventually we're getting to, there won't be any such thing as Asperger's, I believe, and it will just be part of the autistic syndrome umbrella it will be all be under that, or and like I say, I don't think that's a good idea. But anyway, so one of the things about some of the higher functioning people with both autism and sometimes with Asperger's is their ability to excel at one particular task. Very detail oriented. In other words, they might be very meticulous. Like they might know everything there is to know about saying for youth, everything that's possible to know about Dungeons and Dragons. That was one of the teenagers I worked with. He just knew everything. You wouldn't be able to stump him. Then another child could do the calendar thing. Any date since he was born, he could tell you the day of the week. And if he asked you your birthday, he would never forget it. He could just immediately say, oh, your birthday was blah, 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 and he'd be right. Or, what was in 2008, what was September 18th? And it might take like 10 seconds. He'd come out with the right date. You could check it, and he'd be right. Always be right. So, so there's different levels of this, I got to say. And there are a lot of famous people in history they believe had one of these. They were high-functioning autistic people. Some people believe that Carl Sagan was high-functioning autistic. Sir Isaac Newton. So, and even Albert Einstein appeared to have some of the qualities that we attribute to autistic people. And some of these people have become great geniuses and great scientists, but they're marked by, a lot of failed personal relationships, being very obsessed about certain things. Another scientist, I believe Copernicus, was like that. And he basically, for 1 year, locked himself in the room and did, I'm sure he ate and drank and slept there too, but he stayed in that room until he could figure out the planetary motions. Like he just beat into the thing and came up with a theory. And he had basically locked him in the room and wasn't going out. He wasn't going out of the room until he had something that he thought was good. So how does this apply to Elon Musk? Well, he's done really well for himself. Richest man in the world, supposedly. 249 billion he's worth. And the SpaceX company, he owns a significant amount of Telsa. And Jesse's been a very, very successful businessman. And some of that could be attributed to the idea that he has Asperger's and that he's very honed in on the details of how to get jobs done and kind of a quality of not letting go. There was one, I listened to an interview once on National Public Radio, NPR, National Propaganda Network, or whatever. But they were interviewing this guy in England, and he had a computer tech company, and he only hired autistic people as service people. And the person was like, what? What you mean, what? What are you doing? He says, oh, yeah. He says, those people go out to solve a problem, and they're not going to stop no matter what. Other people will try work on something for an hour and say, oh, gee, this is, they get frustrated. They can't solve it, and they give up. And he was saying, no, these people, they never give up. They get it done. So there's this quality of resoluteness, of focusing in on one aspect, one thing, and that being kind of like everything. So you could see how that could be beneficial in certain ways, and you can also see how that would be a big disadvantage in some other ways. But I thought it was just interesting that, and the Project Veritas caught some guy basically saying oh yeah, Elon Musk, he's special needs. He's, basically with a kind of ploy that, oh, he's mentally defective. So what can you expect from a person like that? And, that's just I don't know, real devaluation of the dignity of human life. And also, it's rather stupid, really, really stupid when you see what this guy's accomplished. I mean, the Starlink system, he's managed so many things into success. It's like the military now is going to be calling on him for more solutions because he can implement something and get it done much quicker than the government can. I thought that was an interesting twist. Uh, but that's what they had a military guy talking, and he was just like, gee, you know, he got the Starlink terminals into the Ukraine so they could have uh, internet connections, and uh, it, he just did it. It was so much quicker than what the military could have done. So just kind of interesting, and we'll see where it all goes. The Twitter deal is on hold because he believes there's at least 20% of the accounts that are fake. And, I mentioned this, I think, in one of the videos, but Biden has 22 million followers, a measly 22 million followers, and half of those, or 11 million, are fake accounts. They said that Elon Musk has like 70 million followers, but 90% of them are fake accounts. And they aren't accounts the person creates to follow them. They're just different accounts that attach to them, try to do negative or positive things, or accounts that are there. You could imagine it's similar to, there's a long line to the grocery store, and there's people in the line that are just there to, pickpocket or something. They're not really there to go shopping, but they're in the line, and their purposes are completely different. That's kind of what these spam and the bot accounts are like. So anyway, tell me what you think. I think that's an interesting revelation of him being, extremely high functioning, super high functioning, and getting this thing, SpaceX and different things like this, going. And at least in the business part of his life, this has been a tremendous success. I don't really know about his personal life, and I mean that doesn't interest me. I think we don't need to pry into other people's lives, but this he did talk about, and like I say, they got some video of some Twitter executive basically kind of dumping on him because he has Asperger's. Bye.